The immortal John Hancock here, and today I'm talking about if GameStop went under, why it would be bad for gamers. Now, let me go back and tell you about my history with GameStop. I go back 20 years. I was an assistant manager for Dreamcast launch at a GameStop. GameStop is far from a perfect company. I actually disliked the district manager that I was working under at the time, but loved the manager that I worked for. You know, eventually she stepped away from the job. They offered the job to me, and I decided not to take it because I was student teaching and working long hours around school. There was just no way I could have managed being a manager and still going to school. So I decided to take another job. But let me tell you, okay, GameStop going under would be bad, and this is why. First and foremost, GameStop has kind of put themselves in this position. I understand that. They've made some terrible decisions. They've kind of taken on this more like toy, pop culture scene, and it's really hurt them. But first and foremost, GameStop offers used video games at an affordable price to many locations that don't have any other options. And so, you know, I've used GameStop for 20 years. There's good stores and bad stores. You know, I've gone to some stores, they had a lot of fanboys working at them, pushy salespeople, but that's not all the GameStops. I have to commend the local GameStop in Longview, Washington. It is an amazing GameStop. I've been shopping there since, I do believe, 2007, and I've had great customer service. They're friendly in there. You know, it's well ran, and so there are a lot of good GameStops out there. And the reason why I think it's important is that there's a lot of gamers that like physical copies of video games, that pursue and go shop locally at their local GameStop. They have a relationship with those people. They offer many titles. I can't tell you how many games in my collection came from a GameStop, ranging from PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox. You know, I could go on and on. They got a lot of N64 games from Funko Land. You know, even going back to those days, you know, I've been shopping at GameStop for 20 years. And so I think when it comes to physical copies of video games, it is a gamer's paradise if you're into that. And I think if that goes away, it's going to take a huge option from people that like physical media and take it away. It's going to be bad. And, you know, as consumers, we're not the only ones that shop at GameStop. I know several independent video game stores that do their business working with GameStop. And let me tell you how it works. There's a lot of people that go to these local indie stores and they trade in their newer stuff. Those indie game stores then take that and then trade that back into GameStop for store credit to get things that they need for the store. And so it's kind of a happy exchange there. I know several independent game stores that work with GameStop, you know, and vice versa. You know, someone comes into GameStop looking for something older, a lot of these stores refer them to indie game stores that are in the area, and that's the example how it is in my town. Several retro game stores in town, and our GameStop refers them to those stores. You know, we have a game store in the Kelso Mall. We have Katrina, Epic Entertainment, and Classics and Oddities. So I'm blessed to have several retro game stores in my hometown or sister town. But there's also many other indie stores that get referrals from their local GameStops. And so it's a symbiotic relationship. There is a relationship between GameStops and indie game stores. And so, you know, indie game stores use GameStops to replenish stock. It is super important to know that, and that if GameStop was to shut down, it's going to take a supply chain away from your indie store. So GameStop often gets perceived as this really big evil empire. Now, they deserve some of their criticism. They are far from perfect. As I mentioned before, they've made some terrible business decisions over time to put them in this predicament. I mean, first and foremost, you know, the whole ThinkGeek purchase and going away. When I walk into a GameStop now, it's like half of it is not games anymore. It's all this shirts and merchandise and stuff promoting games, but it's not games. I think that was the biggest mistake they could have ever done. I think they know that. They're trying to turn their ship around, and I think it's tough. It's tough. You know, there's talks about them turning some GameStops into retro game stores. I do think they need to focus on the games. The more games that a local GameStop can carry, the better. If they go back to offering retro games, I think that's a good idea, as long as their prices are affordable. And I think actually it will be a better relationship with local indie game stores, because if they offer that, you're going to have indie game stores coming in and replenishing some of their stock. Now, I don't have a problem with that, because a lot of times these stores aren't next to indie game stores. They're several miles away. They might even be at another city. And so, you know, I think that's a good thing. It's a good thing having GameStop around, even though it's far from a perfect company, okay? Because I know I've been to bad GameStops. I worked at a bad GameStop. I wasn't just a manager. When I first moved to Washington, I actually worked at a Portland GameStop, and it had a whole bunch of problems. I didn't stick around too long. I was there for winter help. I understand that a lot of GameStops have a lot of problems. Personnel issues. You could have supply issues, theft. I've seen a lot of things over the time of me being a collector in video games about GameStop. But taking all that and weighing it with them going out of business, I'm telling you right now, GameStop going out of business is going to be bad for collectors. I can't tell you, of all the amazing finds of PSP, Wii, Wii U, PlayStation, like I've mentioned before, you know, taking that option away is going to limit where some of us find our video games. And so that's my thoughts on that. I have several suggestions that GameStop needs to do moving forward. I'm sure there's other people that have suggestions too. One, you got to offer more games. You got to get away from this merchandise stuff. Recently, they talked about, there was recent discussions of GameStop laying off a lot of their you know, merchandising management, or there was a management restructuring as of late, and I think that's a good thing. Though I know some people in those positions, I really hope that they didn't lose their job. You know, a lot of these management positions have been around a long time. They were good paying jobs, also overworked. They worked with several stores, so, you know, my heart goes out to people that lost their job. I've been laid off before, not fun whatsoever. So anyways, that's my thoughts. I think GameStop is salvageable, but they do have to do something. I think they're trying right now to turn it around. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. You know, a lot of people are saying that they may not last a year, up to a few years. What I can tell you, though, is if they go out of business, your local indie game store is going to be impacted. They don't want the local GameStop to go out, because secretly, if they tell you or not, they're using it. They're using it to replenish stock. They're using it because they have a relationship with people there, and that's a good thing. I think the strength of our community is working with each other, and I've seen several GameStops do that, including the local one. I absolutely love my local game store, and fair enough. On a corporate level, GameStop can be just downright terrible. They've had some bad policies. They've put themselves in this predicament. I'm not defending them, but I'm just saying, if they go away, even though they're far from perfect, mediocre at times, sometimes terrible, but in the long run, them going away is going to be bad. I think it's going to be bad, and I definitely think it would impact the used game market, and it make some games a lot harder to find. You know, as someone who collects physical media, you know, I love collecting physical media games. You know, it's just going to be that much harder. It's going to make me think twice about shopping. I shop at my local GameStop probably once a week. I go there all the time. I cruise and look at their used Switch titles, or Wii. You know, I've hunted there for the last, 4 years for Wii U titles. And, you know, for me, them going away, it's gonna hurt. You know, it's gonna hurt me. You know, I know that I shop at local indie game stores, but I should probably shop at my GameStop just as much as I shop there. And so taking that away, I think it's going to be lose-lose. So anyways, it's kind of a long ramble today, but I wanted your thoughts. Do you think GameStop going out of business would be bad? comment below, as I want to hear your GameStop experiences. I want you to talk about the good and bad. Have you had good experiences with GameStop? Have you found great games? Because that's really what it comes down to. You know, GameStop, you know, at the heart, when it was doing right, was offering affordable used games. That's really GameStop over the years has offered me some great value on my collection. I have several games from GameStop in my collection. And so, yeah, comment below. I want to hear about your thoughts. It is most appreciated. I want to thank everyone for the ongoing support of me and my channel. Thank you so much. I offer many videos a week, and you folks are wonderful and beautiful. This is the Immortal John Hancock. Thank you so much. You take care.